No. But this is our last presentation, so we have as much time as you want.
Cool.
Okay,
All right.
take it.
Let's get started.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. We're just going to play some welcome messages first from Emily Allen and Mike Thornburg after that, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Allen, Dean of the College of Engineering, Computer Science, and Technology at Cal State LA, and I'm here to welcome you to our virtual Capstone Expo 2020. That's the Expo that's virtual, not the Capstone projects. In fact, our student teams have been working on their projects since our kickoff in August 2019. That seems like a long time ago now, as the COVID-19 pandemic has forced us into physically distant but socially cohesive modes of operation. We have over 100 project presentations to share live with you over Zoom connections. We are very proud of our excellent senior design program, as it rivals programs nationwide in meeting curricular requirements for design. Engineering design is an iterative, creative, problem-solving process in which science, mathematics, and engineering and computing principles are applied to convert resources into solutions. It has a direct and vital impact on the quality of life for all people. With these stakes in mind, our students have been working hard all year long, and especially these past few months, to finish their projects, and these presentations represent the culminating efforts for their degree programs. We deeply appreciate our project sponsors and industry liaisons, our faculty advisors, and the teams that manage and provide instruction for these capstone courses, including Mike Thorburn and Chris Bachman, John Shamma, Howard Lum, Jason Song, and Rupa Purasengi, Paul Liu, Elaine Kang, Jungshu Lim, and Raj Pamula, as well as our staff members, Hasmeek Simon and Evelyn Lee. Now, on with the shows, and I'll see you online. Hi everyone, I'm Emily.
Hi everybody, I'm Mike Thorburn, and on behalf of the Cal State University, Los Angeles, and the College of Engineering, Computer Science, and Technology, I want to welcome you to the 2020 Engineering, Computer Science, and Technology Capstone Senior Design Expo. This year, it's a truly unique experience for us and for you, as the Expo will be done live via Zoom. Additionally, sessions will be recorded for those not able to participate in the live event. The students have all worked especially hard to make this event happen and to ensure the audience is able to participate from a safe social distance. Between mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, civil engineering, and technology, we have about 100 presentations scheduled over a period of about 2 weeks. I encourage you to participate constructively in as many as you can. Your feedback is critically important to the students. As you're watching this video, you must already know about our webpage. If you take time to go through it, you will find detail about all of the presentations and projects. Cal State LA is protecting the event from mischief by using passwords, but if you request access, we'll happily send it to you. The students have been working on their projects since August of 2019. Obviously, the COVID-19 epidemic was a huge disruption over the last month and a half, and it's been hard for everybody. I'm proud to say our Cal State LA Engineering, Computer Science, and Technology students, just as they have always done, have shown great persistence to overcome the obstacles confronting them and have made a tremendous effort to wrap up their projects and present them to you now. On behalf of the university and on behalf of these terrific students, I welcome you to Expo 2020.
Okay, so getting into the presentation, this is for the weed hazard application. I'm Austin Vargason, the team lead, and you guys all know me here. So on the team, we have Zachary Tapia, Hummam Sagga, Andy Lamb, and Brian Canela. Our advisor is Dr. Zhu, and liaison is Polo. So first, I just wanted to go over some agenda for the presentation. First, we're going to go over some background about the business processes that go into the project and what the overall scope of the project is. And then a general project overview, as well as requirements and some of the benefits involved with that. And then we'll go into detail of some of the system design and technologies involved that made this project possible, as well as a general high-level summary of the project and a quick demo, followed by questions if anyone has any. So now I'm going to pass it off to Zach to give some background.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zachary Tapia, and over the next few slides, I'm going to give everyone a brief introduction and context about our project, and also explain why our project is important and why it needs to be completed. Los Angeles County Agricultural Commissioner Weights and Measures has a mission to protect the environment, the agriculture industry, and consumers through effective enforcement of all 3 federal, state, and county ordinances. The department offers many diverse public services, including ensuring the safe supply of food and water for the county, preventing the misuse of pesticides, managing excluding pests, and the last of which pertains to our project, which is minimizing fire hazards and weeds and brush in Los Angeles County. Our project for the year was to build a web application to update the current process of maintaining the WHOL, the Weed Hazard Ownership List. Next slide. So what is the Weed Hazard Ownership List? It is simply a list that tracks parcels that are deemed to be a fire hazard in the county. Previously, maintenance of the list required the use of physical paper forms, turning in that form for processing to another person, which then had to be manually copied and entered into the system. The actual list data was maintained on a mainframe computer, and updates to statuses and the parcels on that list could only be done weekly in large batches for efficiency. You can do updates really to individual parcels. So this led to desynchronization between actual work completed on parcels and the status of the parcel on the maintained list on the mainframe. Next slide. I'm going to explain some background pertaining to the individual parcel and explain exactly what happens at each step of the parcel cycle while it's maintained on the list. Initially, a parcel must be declared a fire hazard before it can be added to the Weed Hazard Ownership List. After this has happened, it is added to be tracked. A notice is then sent to the parcel owner, notifying them of the situation of the piece of land of the parcel, and that they have an option to either clear the land themselves, do it for that by themselves, or have ACWM clear it for them, and they'll be charged later through their taxes later in the year. After either of these options has been completed, a field inspector is sent to the piece of land, the parcel, and they approve the safety of the land. Next slide. On the left, you see a map of Los Angeles County, and one thing to consider is the size of the county. It is 4,750 square miles. And you can imagine that all this land adds up to being hundreds of parcels that must be tracked and maintained. ACWM mainly handles empty parcels that are fire hazards. Any improved pieces of land, that improvements include building structure on the land or addition of electricity access, are under the Los Angeles County fire jurisdiction. Also, anyone that has lived in California in the last decade is aware how devastating brush fires can be and how dangerous they can be to both property and human lives. That's why this project is important and why it must be done. Next, I'll pass it over to Austin for a project overview.
Okay. So first, before I get into some of the technical details of the application, I just wanted to provide some general definitions for anyone who's not as technical, and we can present some at a high level. So an API is an application programming interface. It's just generally, you can think of it as a way to connect systems, applications together. Data needs to be shared between systems, and often the data needs to be accessible by another system. So an API is a way to expose that data and provide endpoints to be able to modify or perform actions on that given data set. Next is REST, which is representational state transfer. So REST is an architectural style for building distributed systems. That we're using this architectural style to design our APIs in our system. Generally, REST is, you can think of it as just the context needed for a request is all contained inside the request. And it's a multi-layer system that derives on multiple structures to create a comprehensive solution where things are all handled from context in the request. There isn't like wrapping required and like the way SOAP wraps things. And then we have the front end. So the front end is the general user interface that you see, everything you touch with, click on, interact with, and enter data into, and that's generally what you interact with. The front end also consists of those technologies that provide that user interface for you. And they generally implement the display logic. Sometimes the front end may also implement business logic, but in this case, we'd like to keep our business logic separate and try and keep the display logic just to the front end. And then the back end is the server architecture, the general code that supplies information to the front end for displaying, implements business logic. It needs to be able to create, read, and update data and delete data. And we're using our backend all through API based in this application. So the general project, as Zach mentioned, some of the overall business logic involved with it. So I wanted to talk about the requirements for what the project included. So we wanted to redesign the current system in modern technologies. And that means getting possibly like replacing those mainframe systems and working with replacing those paper forms all in an accessible web application in modern tool sets so that it can be accessible in the future from like data reporting and other things like that. We need to also maintain the list of parcels that ACWM may complete work on, and that consists of all the database work involved with that and maintaining views for actually working with that data and all the processes involved with it. And we also have to maintain the list of parcels maintained by LA County Fire. This application is primarily for Los Angeles County ACWM, but LA County Fire is also able to work with their parcels in the application. We also want to maintain all additional parcel data that includes like owner and address information. So ACWM likes to keep track of an own version of the address data from the assessor data, which is normally where we would pull it from. Because the assessor data for address example, the owner or ownership information like government, for example, might be spelled GOVT for the abbreviation or fully spelled out government. By maintaining our own version of that, then we're able to correct those inconsistencies in the data, and also that will also help with reporting as well. Some of the benefits are to reduce the administrative work of the ACWM administrative staff, since a lot of it is having to work with paper forms, and there's also knowledge could be siloed, and hopefully in an application like this, it takes a lot of that business logic and implements it so that it becomes more accessible to people in the case like the staff may change. We also are generally reducing paper usage. One of the administrative staff members enjoys a lot of paper, so hopefully we'll be reducing a lot of that. And generally we want to provide the ability for better data analytics for tools like with Power BI, and with the way we've implemented, things are easily accessible through both our databases and our API. And we want to be able to allow people to generally use the site on mobile devices. So this site is built with a mobile first mindset in front end design. So things collapse to a smaller column layout on mobile or tablet devices and expand outwards on desktop computers. And that helps support like a wide variety of displays. Even if there's like low resolution monitors, we're able to support that all the way up to large resolution monitors. Okay, so next I wanted to get into modern web design. I kind of view modern web design as creating intuitive experiences with intuitive technologies. That's a very wide definition because there's so many different things that could be considered modern web design. Generally, the choice what we used for our application, we went with the REST architectural style and went for a front end, back end system. So for our front end, we're using a UI library called React. React is created by Facebook. And React basically lets you create dynamic components that can be used like building blocks for building front end applications. So the thing that's really useful about this is these building blocks are easily reusable if they're correctly parameterized. And so you can code out something once and repeat it in other pages. Say like if you had an input and you wanted it to be like a text box, but then you wanted it to be like a select box in another case, you can make one component where you pass in an option to do that. And the conditional rendering in React will handle that and make things dynamic and generally reusable. That's one of the also main benefits of React is it doesn't always do page repaints. React makes things dynamic and fluid, and the site is always loading, and as data changes, it updates right away. So there's no having to deal with page repaints, and it generally looks like a much more fluid process compared to like traditional standard HTML, CSS web development. And we're also using tools like Babel and Webpack. Particularly, we're using Core.js for our implementation as well. These tools, Webpack will bundle all of our JavaScript files into a single JavaScript bundle that gets delivered by the backend to the front end to be used as the front end application. And that kind of reduces complexity in the file structure of the overall JavaScript files that you deal with on the front end. It also reduces file size because there's really good compilers and really good minifiers for reducing overall bundle size that gets delivered to the front end. And that's always a game in the React community, is how small can I get my bundle? So with like Core.js and Babel, what that allows us to do is it modern JavaScript. Since JavaScript is only supported, there's different versions in different browsers. Basically, this allows us to write our code in completely newest JavaScript. And then the code will, when it transpiles down, it will become more accessible to all those browsers. It makes it compatible on anything from like Opera to Firefox to Edge, IE, and you code the same, and once after it's been transpiled, it works on those browsers. So it's generally really good for compatibility. And on the back end, we have Microsoft ASP.NET MVC, which is created by Microsoft. And basically, we're using our MVC in not the traditional view method. We're replacing our views with API views. And we have a single view that gets replaced with the React front end because React is handling all the display logic. So we're not doing server rendered views. And our API, our backend generally provides a set of web APIs for React to consume. And these are all JSON APIs, which are handled through fetch requests in React and keep things really clean and update whenever we need it. And that really helps separate out the business logic from the display logic. Microsoft ASP.NET MVC runs on C#, which is a highly popular and supported language. So there's lots of libraries for it. One of the libraries we're using is called Entity Framework, and that allows us to use an object relational mapping with our databases. So that prevents us from having to write SQL to represent the models in our databases. The models are actually converted into what are called migrations. And those migrations are able to run SQL on the database. So less SQL, the better, in my opinion. Some people really like writing SQL. I like the ORM structure a little bit, even though it's a little black boxy sometimes. So given that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Hummam, who's going to talk a little bit about some milestones first.
Thank you, Austin. So our project milestones are divided into 7 stages. From our kickoff back in August 2019 to the delivery deadline in May 2020. Here are the main highlights of the milestones. Milestone 1 was the kickoff and our project first meeting. Milestone 2 is the implement of the login page and the business logic. Also design a wireframe for the application. Milestone 3 will mark the we add the functionality to the pages. We'll also apply the user roles and hook up the databases. Milestone 4, we implement the Parcel information management page and the admin page. And then for milestone 6 and 7, implement of the dashboard and deploy on ACWM servers. And that will mark our project delivery deadline. Next, let's talk more about the system design. On the next slide, please. In this slide, we will talk about the login and user roles. Here we understand who will be able to log in and what will be their roles. There are precisely 4 main kind of users who will access the website. These are the ACWM administrative staff, IT people who will maintain the website, the fire department administrative staff, and the ACWM field level staff, and the roles of each are defined below. For the ACWM administrative staff, they will get access to the working list and the parcel information management pages. IT people, they are the ones who maintain the website. They are the ones who will have access to the data. They will edit the code as needed. They will be responsible for making and maintaining the databases. They will also be able to control what people see on the website. The fire administrative staff, they are the ones who get access to the LA County Fire Department parcels. They need to get access to the documents. They also help to understand how to avoid substance which may be considered fire hazard. The ACWM field staff, they are responsible for adding or deleting parcels. They will also be responsible for filling out the report. Next slide, please. Conditional rendering. Knowing about the conditional rendering, we came across a flow chart which helps to understand how the conditions will function here. The Global Context API is used for delivering role information to the front end. Then it puts the information from the user's current session and grabs role information for that user from the API created by our team. The website will then give all the information about the guidelines. On the other hand, React conditionally renders components based on the user's roles, while the underlying backend API separately validates the roles of users when trying to perform actions. When the current session expires, the user needs to enter again. Based on the conditions they provide, it's helpful to understand how the user can get to their information from the API created by our team. Next, I'm gonna hand it over to Andy.
Thank you, Hummam. In the parcel information management page, this is where the ACWM admin staff can edit the parcel's information. The features on this page allows the users to edit parcel information and add in new workflow processes and edit them as well. The users must include the parcel number in order to edit first. It will then, once they have inputted the parcel number, it would then display all related information to the parcel number. We also made it in the front into the front end display to display the parcel information to ACWM admins, so they don't have to go back and forth to see the parcel information. While in the back end, the API would just get the parcel information in the database and display it with the help of the front end code. Next slide, please. Here is an example process of how editing a parcel would be like. The user will edit the parcel of how they want, which would then be recorded. Once recorded, the information will be displayed in the tables in the parcel information management. These edits will then be saved in the database just for maintaining information. Next slide, please. And in the workflow process, it's the same process as the edit parcel, but instead they can add in new workflow processes. The workflow processes are expression letters and response cards that help improve the parcels. Each workflow process has their own unique process that they could do. The users can edit the workflow process just in case they have made a mistake. Essentially, the workflow process will be saved in the database and displayed in the parcel information table view. Next, I will hand it over to Brian.
Thanks, Andy. In the working list page, the working list consists of parcels that are candidates to become declared parcels. Once a parcel is declared, the parcel will go to the declaration list, and parcels in the declaration list are known as parcels that are said to be fire hazards. In our current system, the step to declare parcels is from the button on top of the page that consists of the post declaration button. A user can move the working list parcels to the staging list by clicking on the Move to Staging button. And only parcels that ACWM are responsible for are sent to the staging list. Users can look at the staging list by filtering down the drop-down to the staging list instead of the working list selection. The staging list will be used mainly for ACWM members. ACWM staff may run reports using the staging list parcels to verify the current listing. If the current listing of the staging list does not meet the standards, then ACWM can delete the staging list, which then will return back to the working list. Or if it does meet the standards, then they can declare the parcels by clicking on the Post Declaration button. The users working on the working list page can also add parcels, edit the parcels information, and also delete the parcels. Most likely the users working on this working list page will be the field inspectors. A user can also request a change of the responsibility of a parcel and change the work allowed from ACWM, fire, or external. Work allowed description shows the department which is allowed to work on the parcels. Some of the features that were implemented for user ease capabilities include pagination, page size per page, sorting by column, selecting multiple records from the list, and searching parcels by the AIN. All modifications such as adding, deleting, and editing and change of work on the parcels does not permanently change in the application. Thus, this is where the admin page is used for. Next slide, please. So admins of the applications will make the final decisions. Admins have more control of the applications. Only admins will be able to see the admin page. Admins will be able to finalize the changes made from the working list page. Next slide, please. So admins can restore a deleted parcel, accept or reject the change of responsibility of a parcel, and who is allowed to work on the parcel, and accept or reject new parcels added. So as you can see in this picture in the working list page, a user might have deleted the parcels, but at the end, no parcels are really deleted because in the admin page, the admin can restore those parcels. Next slide, please. Summary. Next slide, please. With that being said, we were able to improve the user experience with more modern web technologies, improve the parcel management workflow system, and the web application is also compatible with desktop, laptop, mobile, and tablet devices. Next slide, please. Some of the challenges we faced during building the applications is understanding the application process, and a reason for that may be the misinterpretation and miscommunication. Next slide. So now I will turn it to Austin for we can see a demo of our current application.
Okay, thanks, Brian. So I'll go ahead and go over to my other screen right here. Let's just make sure I can still have a valid session. Okay, so this is the weed hazard ownership list application. We're currently on the working list page. And as you can see, when you enter the page, you're presented by this table view, as shown before in the presentation, and a general nav bar up top. So the nav bar will let us access different pages in the application. We have some nifty little animations for these just to make it look a little nicer. And you can switch between pages and navigate from there, as well as navigate to different pages from the dashboard. And then we also have an options drop down for presenting any different options to the site, as well as a logout button. So on the working list, we have a general search field here where we're able to search for a specific parcel. So we can start typing in AIN, and this is a type ahead field. So we'll get suggestions based on what we type, and we can select one of them, and it'll reduce the table view to just that one. And if we're doing a partial search, we can actually just back out of this a little bit and click the search button. And what this will do is search anything that starts with this identifier. So we can do filtering that way. Generally, next we have the list of table controls at the top of the page. So based on the working list, we have the working list as mentioned, and we also have the staging list. The staging list is kind of that intermediary list before parcels get declared. So there's like a validation state before they go to the declaration list, because the declaration list, once it's on the declaration list, that's it. It's final. The declaration, or we join off of the declaration list, but it should be read only after it's posted. So based on this, we're able to select either the working list or the staging list. And as you can see, this is one of the benefits of React right here, where things just dynamically update, and you can see we get a nice little loading symbol in between. So there's never any dealing with page refreshes or anything like that. And then in the table controls, we're able to add a new parcel, delete selected parcels, move to staging, delete staging, and post the declaration list. So I wanted to go ahead and show the process of deleting of selected parcel. So since I'm logged in as an admin, I can't actually delete a parcel until I select a field staff member because I'm deleting it on behalf of them. So for that one, I go ahead and click delete. We get a little, are you sure? And because I'm an admin, I can go into the admin page. My screen updates. Okay. So on the admin, we can now access this, and we can see that we can now restore this deleted parcel. So if I want to go ahead and restore it, you can see it was deleted by me with the 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can go and restore it, and it's back on the list now in case we accidentally deleted anything. The ability to add new parcels. We wanted to add new parcels. I'm remoted into my computer, so there's a little bit of a delay. My internet seems to be suffering. Okay. So if I copy this, that's just an example AIN. If I wanted to add it, I could go ahead and click add parcel and paste it in and click add. And you can see we'll get a loading symbol, and that one's now presented in the list. And that one, I'm currently I made myself a fire department employee for testing. So that gets added as fire. So I'll go ahead and just delete that one again. Next, if we wanted to move to the staging list, it doesn't let you move to staging right now because the staging is actually has parcels in it. So first we can just go ahead and delete the staging list, and you can see that it's empty now. And if we go back to the working list, we now have the option to move to staging. This will move all of our parcels currently in that are ACWM's responsibility into the staging list. And you can see if I go back into the staging list, those ones are all populated there. From there, we're able to post the declaration list. So I'll post that so we have something to work on. And then in these table rows, we're able to do responsibility requests, work allowed requests, and edit. So the edit is that general form to provide address edits to it. So if I wanted to, let's do 902 actually, if I can remember which one I think. Okay, so if we edit on 902, we can see we have the address information. We have general comments we can provide. So say I wanted to update the address to apartment 9 and just leave a comment, updated address. We can go ahead and submit that. And you can see that if I click the edit button again, the data is still there, and it just updates dynamically. And that's all during that communicating with the backend and updating things as you go. So that's been updated. And then we're able to do responsibility requests. Say I wanted to change this fire parcel, like I could make it a ACWM parcel since I have a fire department role. And I could go into the admin, and you can see I have a responsibility request where the current is fire, and it's proposed by to be ACWM's responsibility, and it was who was requested by, who it was, what time it was requested, and the response. And as we accept those, it'll generally change the responsibility of that. So if we go ahead and accept, we can see in the working list, that one went from fire to now ACWM, but the declaration list is not updated yet since that's been already posted. So this is generally working on the working list, and we do joins with that data. So from there, let's go ahead and I'm just gonna update the declaration list since we edited it, so we can go ahead and delete the staging and move the staging. And you can see on the staging list, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 since we have ACWM. The work request is just the ability to say who's allowed to work on it. So if there's a parcel that's fire's responsibility, and we want and fire wants ACWM to be able to work on it, they can just do a request to change the work allowed to ACWM, and that will make it so that ACWM field staff are now able to do work on it. And then last, we just have a general pagination on the site and a items per page selector. We only have one page because we just have demo parcels in here for right now, but this will dynamically expand. And once you get more than 3 entries, it'll do a ... so it doesn't fill up the whole bottom of your screen. So now I wanted to go to the parcel management page. So the parcel management page is where we're able to fill out those workflow processes as well as do edits. So the same goes for that search component. Since I worked on 902, let's go ahead and do that. You can see that we get a general highlight of the info up here, as well as workflow processes table. And then this is the address history changes table. So you can see that our current address is apartment 9, but I changed it from not being apartment 9, so that's in the address history table now. And that's presented below, so you can see all the changes that happen. And the underlying data like keeps track of the order of those changes as well, so you can have a full like history timeline. So I want to head new process. Internet flying again. Some remoted into my Windows workstation, so sometimes it lags out. Okay, so here we go. We can go ahead and create a response card for this. And under the response card is where we're able to fill out the general information about the response. And one thing about this is in these forms, we've provided like dynamic form validation. So you can see like if you have something that's required, you get this little pop-up saying deadline is required, and it highlights it in red, so you know specifically what you're doing wrong. So let's go ahead and enter response entered, and we'll say just to show some of the other validation on that, we can enter that in the past estimate 1, 2, 3, 4. That's just an amount, and we'll just leave a comment of test. So if I go ahead and submit that, you can see I set it to May 5/20. Okay. So yeah, that's in the future, so it passed the validation. If we went ahead and like edited it, I can go, you can see which fields were updated by which person. And if I wanted to like go back, say to the 29th, you can see that it'll say deadline must be in the future. So if we go ahead and X that out, it'll just cancel out our changes. And we're also able to fill out multiple of these cards. And the way these cards are all done through one component. So we have one form modal component where we send all of these inputs to it. It makes it really dynamic. Same thing, we can fill this out and estimate 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3. And these just dynamically update in the table, and we can edit those, and we'll be able to fill out multiple for each. Generally, I showed you guys a little bit of the admin table, but we have the ability to restore deleted parcels. We have the ability to accept responsibility changes, and you can see I can highlight between responsibility and work allowed. And this is the unapproved add. Basically in that add list, as I was adding a parcel, what you can do, if it checks the parcel change list, and sometimes parcels will go from like 1 parcel to 9 parcels. So if we detect that the 1 parcel they entered in changed to 9 parcels, we can actually go and add those as unapproved adds. And the admin can go in and approve those and be like, yes, I do actually want to add those, even though just as a validation step rather than just auto adding those 9 into the list. So that's a general overview of our project and the demo. Wanted to go ahead and hand it off and see if anyone had any questions. Okay, I'll take silence as a. No, any comments from Polo or Dr. Pamula?
Polo, yeah, waiting for Polo to say.
Oh, well, I'm loquacious, so I figured I should be quiet.
What happened?
Plus, you have to unmute it.
Yes.
As they explained the project, from one perspective, you go, "Oh, that's so simple," and that unfortunately, through simplicity, usually behind the scenes is complexity, and the complexity in this case was having to understand the workflow, which although I had worked with our customers to get it prepared, we found it lacking. And so the students did a pretty good job. Zach in particular bribed us with donuts.
It worked, right?
It did work. It's a very good motivator. So I'll be using that in the future myself. So they were able to understand the finer points of the project, and those have come to fruition. I don't know that I've had a chance to mention to the students, but initially when I started this project, the idea was to replace it because I, on my own, am tired of dealing with the mainframe because it adds a level of complexity of sharing data between 2 different departments, which doesn't have to be done because, you know, it's our list, and yet we constantly send these to another department. I was emailed just 2 weeks ago that the system that this relied on is going to be mothballed by the end of the year. So we picked the right one to redo
Good.
ahead of the game. And so that was actually nice to see that that when I picked this one, you know, I had a feeling that it was going to come sooner or later, as all mainframes are changing their roles. They don't actually always get disconnected, but they don't stay serving apps because the COBOL developers are getting few and far between. Even though I still remember half of my COBOL from my Cal State LA. I was trying to describe where the computer lab used to be.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hear I could make pretty good money being a COBOL developer. But I think they've done a very good job of understanding the requirements. The staff that we have traditionally done this work for 35 years using a paper-based system. And they've needed a good amount of hand-holding to have them move forward. And I think the group, with their understanding and prodding, have been able to eke out the information necessary to make this application work. So that, and I might add that the staff has become to want to embrace something new. So it seems like it's good timing all around, and that that's worked to their advantage. So I think if they come by in a few years, it'll still be running, because I could see it already expanding and working with Fire. They're already going to use a different method for data collection, but we'll have to interchange the data. But it'll be modern, and they'll have full access, while as the existing system is all black box. You know, send some data out and then something appears later. That's not so good these days.
Yep.
Yep.
So I appreciate their efforts, and I think they all, you know, did their part. And Austin's been very good at assisting coordinating. I'm sure, as with every other of the 100 presentations, the environment of having to not even be together. See, I was actually shocked that everyone was in different rooms. I actually thought the group might present at one person's house, and I guess that's just not the case, and that makes total sense, of course. But it has added a layer of complexity. The last 6 weeks, obviously, are not anywhere like the previous 6 weeks of intercollaboration. So I know that's been difficult for everyone, and kudos to the group of being able to move forward at some of the most difficult time. And if they haven't heard me say it before, which I'm sure I say every time we sign off, you know, I do appreciate their efforts. I sat not quite exactly in their chair, and I understand it hasn't been so long ago that I remember what it's like to be a student. So I affirmed to them that I impressed upon them that I expected them to be students first. And this project, although it's important, you know, can come second. And I think I hopefully, I don't know, you guys, I hope the approach worked well enough for them, even though I know there was some stress involved. But what project doesn't have stress?
Yeah.
If there'd be no stress, it wouldn't be a learning experience. When you take the class with no stress, it's a gimme, right?
But
So,
for Polo, you and me, you and Ricky, Zoe and me, on to next year again, right?
yes. I think the project that I would present next year would be the continuation of this project. It's as I said, the base that it's going to depend on is going to be retired.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
this one will move forward. So
Good.
thank you for putting out a
Thank you.
good base, and then I hope whoever takes it over next time, you know, does just as good a job.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So see you soon.
You'll be missed, Dr. Pamula. I hope.
No,
to see
I'm
you.
around for one more year. Don't worry.
Oh, you're around for one more year. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, should they have a party for you? You know,
Yes.
you can have outsiders at the time, unless it's all virtual.
No. I don't like virtual happy hours. No.
There you go.
We'll do it.
I'd love to bring a toast to you. So.
Thank you. Okay.
And thank you to their liaison. You know, he he vouched for you guys when you needed vouching for, and it was a pleasure working with you, Dr. Zeus. So
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I must thank everyone, especially Polo and Dr. Pomola, who made this, you know, project, you know, possible. And also, I think the most important part, I must thank the whole team. You know, I think they have been working so diligently. Yeah, everyone is working so hard, especially Austin, who has been arranging and, you know, monitoring everybody's performance and, you know, getting to know the business logic. You know, I must thank, you know, especially, I think I should express my, you know, gratitude to every team member. Yeah, they made this project, you know, so excellent.
And also, Rick, I think this team did a good demo presentation, which was somewhat lacking in many others. I think that's good to show off, I think, real time.
Yeah, we like to show it off. It looks
rather
good.
than hiding behind and then say, this is the video.
Yeah. Well, live demos are dangerous, but we like a little danger.
Yeah, well, it's not like it hasn't happened to the greatest. Blue screen of death during Windows 98 or Windows 2000. Bill Gates got one, so you know, if it can happen to them, it can happen to anybody. So,
yeah.
If you remember, Paul, nothing happened in the CPM and the Microsoft DOS environment. Right? There was no crashing.
No, rarely any crashing. Rarely any crashing. It didn't do too much, but it didn't crash either.
Yeah, it did not crash at all. Okay. Okay, let's not go there again. Okay. Okay. See you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yes.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.